Hey everybody, welcome to We've Got the Beat, the podcast devoted to teen entertainment from the 80s and beyond. I'm your host, Michael, and Mindy's on the other side.
What up?
Trying to bring some sort of joy to the world because it's utter piles of shit that we're trying to dodge. So we're going to bring... this one is the one where we kind of like ride the line of what's a teen movie. It isn't necessarily...
Don't care.
Yeah, we don't care. Addams Family and Addams Family Values. Interesting how the second one is now considered the best of the duo when the second one tanked pretty fucking hard.
Oh, is that so?
Yep.
I don't really have a concept of those things, especially not that far back. But,
Well,
um,
I remember there was three sequels altogether, and
Yeah.
it was Christmas of '93, and they were all movies that weren't that long ago. It was Sister Act 2, Wayne's World 2, and Addams Family Values. That was the only one that was like a 2-year gap. But they opened up all right after Mrs. Doubtfire. And I have nothing against Mrs. Doubtfire, but looking at all the movies now, I'm like, that's the one that everybody went to? Okay. Like, really went to, like 150 million kind of, and everything else got me like 35 or 40 million. I don't get it.
I mean, Robin Williams. I don't really think there's anything more to say than that.
Is it the post Aladdin, like... He's just riding that so hard. I mean, I can't even remember Mrs. Doubtfire. Is it good?
Yeah, I mean, it's good, but it's also like, a family movie. I think a lot of people, were loving him hardcore, and it was a family movie, so those two things combined. I mean, is Whoopi Goldberg a big draw at the theater for anyone? No, not really.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if Sister Act was just a fluke. Like, there's movies like that. Like Miss Congeniality,
Probably.
it just came out at the right time. It was different than everything else that was coming out, and it just locked in. But then again, I guess you could say the same thing for the other movies. Wayne's World was in February. It didn't have any competition. I mean, I think the only thing was Lawnmower Man. And it was different than everything else. Fast forward a year and a half, and his competition is completely different. Same thing for Addams Family. The first one was such like out of nowhere surprise hit, and then the second one.
So much of things is just good timing, because even movies that have really big name actors don't always hit it right. It's
And comedy
sometimes it
sequels.
really is just timing.
Comedy sequels are like the hardest of all of them because it just seems like it's a one and done for a lot of these. Like, I can see there's a continuation with the Addams Family world. In Wayne's World 2 is kind of the same exact thing. That's the problem with a lot of sequels is they either have nothing else to say or they're just repeating themselves. Did we really want to analyze that?
The second movie is pretty much the same exact plot.
But Addams Family and Addams Family Values, I think the reason why they're so beloved is because they are true sequels where they're not completely, they're not really repeating themselves. The only thing that kind of repeats itself in both movies is how Fester kind of gets twisted and destroys the family.
Fester is a tool, and he is used in both movies, and it's quite sad.
Yeah.
But it works out all okay.
It's amazing how Christopher Lloyd can truly disappear into his performances. Think about everything that was big studio film that was a hit for him, and they're all completely different. You have the Back to the Future trilogy, you have the Dream Team, Roger Rabbit, the Addams Family, and then after that it kind of lost his... I don't really recall much after that. I think he did like My Favorite Martian and stuff like that, but he seemed to be a guy who would lose himself in the character. He was a leading guy, sort of like Danny DeVito, and it was only during this era where you could really get someone like that who was a character actor who would also be like, his name would be above the title.
Yeah, it is really interesting, isn't it? Like, that some of the people that were like huge stars, and you're just like he's like, Danny DeVito is just so strange.
Yeah. And
Christopher Lloyd's kind of strange.
Yeah, well, I was trying to think of some of the action guys. Like, no other time would give you Christopher Lambert and Rutger Hauer. Honestly, it just won't happen again. What I think you find interesting about all of this is that nobody in the Addams Family was really a well-known name. I mean, this feels like it would be a Tim Burton production, doesn't it?
I can see that.
And nowhere in here does it say that he was ever lined up for it. But Caroline Thompson is connected to him. She did write Edward Scissorhands. And she would write this as well. So she brings some of that quirky weirdness to the script. And we're looking at, Barry Sonnenfeld. This is the first movie he's ever directed. They gave him this big studio.
I like Barry Sonnenfeld.
Oh, yeah. I really think he doesn't get much credit anymore because he's only remembered for Men in Black, and that's it. What's that one that we like? Big Trouble.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, so much fun. He did Love and Money with Michael J. Fox, and that didn't do very well. It just seems like he's a real hit and miss kind of guy where it seems like he should have had more hits.
Was he the one who got his start in porn?
Yes, he was a cinematographer in porn. And then he got hired by the Coen brothers, and that's how they basically okay, this guy I think is right, because I think his last film he had lensed was Barton Fink, I think. But he had that manic energy because he had done Raising Arizona and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that probably a lot of his movies are underappreciated, and I sometimes forget that things I love aren't universally loved.
Yeah.
Because I don't really think about that stuff. But I personally think that Big Trouble is one of the most underrated comedies that exist.
Oh, it does say Tim Burton did pass on this. I'm sorry. He was locked into Batman Returns, so he couldn't do this.
Well, that kind of makes sense that now he's, all these years later, he's doing the Wednesday Addams show on Netflix.
Oh, is he? I didn't know that. Is it animated?
I'm pretty sure. No.
Okay.
It's live action, and I have mixed feelings about it, but...
Is Christina Ricci coming back? Or is it a new...
Yeah, she is coming back. I don't know in what regard. It doesn't say what character she's playing.
Okay, so it's not like an adult Wednesday.
No, she's a teenager. The girl from the younger sister in the most recent Scream movie is playing Wednesday as a teenager.
Oh, okay. I was wondering because I was thinking they have the animated movies going right now, so maybe they didn't want to conflict with that, so they're making Wednesday an adult, and she has to go out into her world as
Morticia Addams, Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Really? Okay, that works.
Here's the weird one though. Luis Guzman as Gomez.
Okay.
I love him, but I don't see him pulling off the. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, if you remember,
I am curious.
So there's different versions of the Addams Family when it comes.
I know. That's
everything is consistent except Gomez. So the cartoons, the TV series, and the movies have all been different feels. So the newer animated movies, those look more like what would fit him.
True.
Yeah, because we got used to him being very sexual, very debonair. And a swordsman, a dancer, a lover, and Raul Julia just fucking eats this up. This is the best eye roll for almost everybody in this movie, honestly.
Seriously, it's like we've talked about this so many times in comedies, and what made it so good is the commitment. And it wasn't slapsticky. It wasn't tongue in cheek. They played that shit straight.
Yeah. Well, and Paramount was kind of known for that for a while. Paramount is the king of the TV adaptations because they're the first to really kick that off with Untouchables. And then they did this. But it was a few years later is when they did the Brady Bunch movies.
Yeah.
And that was kind of when those started taking a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek or insulting the original.
I appreciate that approach, too, if it's done right. But I just think that not doing that with these movies it is partially what makes it so good.
Yeah.
So the repeat value is just so high.
I'm curious about the Munsters remake that's coming this Halloween from, of all people, Rob Zombie. Is it going to be a twisted version? Is it going to be a legit love letter? I don't know. And it could fail if you do not get the tone right. But I feel like it's a couple decades late.
Mm-hmm.
60s nostalgia doesn't seem like it should be a thing anymore. I feel like we're now into the 90s nostalgia. We're in the nostalgia of the nostalgia.
Well, everything just comes around again. That's just the way life is.
Yeah.
We're just in another phase of Nostalgia.
Who is that?
I'm sitting outside. That's just some other neighbor dog.
I was going to say, that doesn't like Pepper. So originally this was supposed to be an Orion release. They sold it to Paramount because they were on the verge of bankruptcy and they were terrified this would end them. And guess what? Massive hit. And because they didn't have the money from this, they did go under. Mm-hmm. They went under for like 3 years. Well, they fucked themselves.
Because they didn't have enough faith in it, then they screwed themselves.
Well, it's so strange. How does Orion go out of business? Early 1992, when they just came off of all the box office receipts coming in from Dances with Wolves, Silence of the Lambs. These are both 100-plus movies. You got Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, which is a good hit. All that money coming in from, theatrical, international, video, and probably TV sales by then, and yet you still go bankrupt. You really had to fuck up somewhere. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so $30 million production, and you see every square inch because not only does Barry Sonnenfeld have some crazy camera work, the special effects hold up so well, but it's Bo Welch, the production designer behind this, that makes it look so fucking lavish.
Sorry, I'm listening to you. I'm just reading some of the facts and stuff.
Oh, okay.
It says that they spent $100,000. The exterior of the Addams house was built for $100,000.
That doesn't seem bad considering how big that set was. You're not counting the house, you're counting the graveyard and the court and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
well,
Okay.
when I first read it, I thought that was like the interior. So I'm just wondering, about. I wish we could learn more about how, all the stuff that they did in the inside, especially in the first one, and that whole elaborate, thing to get to, to the safe and the money and all that. Quite elaborate.
The first one, I think, gets bogged down a little bit with trying to introduce the world. But, I mean, what other choice do you have to people who have never seen this? I don't recall. I know we had seen the Munsters at this point, but I cannot tell you if I'd ever seen the Addams Family.
I don't think so. And considering, that we were kids when this came out, that I don't think that we had the reference point. So, to the level at which we enjoyed it without having a reference point, I'd say they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I remember seeing this in the theaters. I did not see the second one. I get the feeling that a lot of people just kind of...
I see the first one with you?
Yeah, you went with us. I think we went as a family. Maybe it's...
I'm not sure.
Maybe,
I don't remember.
Yeah, I remember we went, and it was Christmas of 91. We lived in a very small town, listeners, where we only had one movie screen at a time, so you pretty much went to everything that played there, unless you really didn't want to see it.
Everything that was not R-rated. Sometimes you had to wait for a month to be able to go to another movie, because the R-rated movies would stick around.
Yeah,
but I don't think they did that too often.
No, it was really rare that would happen, because... either they had to have something else to go with it. Like do you remember going to see Ernest Scared Stupid?
Absolutely.
So right after that is when they had Freddy's Dead. So that's like the only time they would have to have some sort of co-share. Like the later shows would be the R-rated one, and before that would be something that everybody could see. It wasn't very often we got a R-rated movie unless there was just nothing else out. So most of the time it was PG-13 movies, and. It
was just like, if it was something that was just like really huge that you can't ignore, like Dances with Wolves or whatever.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Because I remember Firebirds with Nicolas Cage played there, and we almost went to it, and we found out it was R-rated.
I don't remember that.
No, you shouldn't.
I remember a lot of things. I remember very, very, very clearly going to see Jurassic Park the day it opened and how long the line was.
Yeah.
Like
waiting outside forever.
Around the corner.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
We sat in the very first row. Back when we could do something like that without hurt neck and strained eyes.
The main theme, written and performed by MC Hammer, won a Razzie Award in the category for Worst Original Song. I totally get.
Which one? The Addams Family.
Yeah.
That was like his last hurrah, because the next song I think was Too Legit to Quit, which was like a 9-minute epic. It was so expensive, and it was like, oof. That song is so long, it never did quit. It's still going. That was a bad joke. I'm sorry. Christina Ricci really broke out from this, but the kid, I don't even remember his name. I think, it says here Jimmy Workman. I have no idea what happened to Pugsley.
Pugsley? Yeah, I don't know.
Guess it just didn't work out for him. They're fine. I think they're both great, but I think it's the sequel that really lets them shine.
Oh, for sure. That's the thing, is that the sequel really, it's still not really a teen movie, but there's a lot more focus on them.
Yeah.
Which I think is good.
Whoops, I just hit the wrong page. So, I think the first one is it's really elaborate in its visual style, and it has an intricate mystery, which I think works well. But I let's go on to the second one, because that's where it's fucking gold.
I'm just trying to think if there's anything in the first one. I think that's worth mentioning. Just the amusing part where they get kicked out of the house and they're staying in that motel, and Gomez is like fixated on, like, I don't know, what's it? Gilligan's Island, and the kids are outside and with their. I'm pretty sure that he's obsessively watching Gilligan's Island, like, in his depression. And
do you remember?
And then
the hand, how they kept promoting how they did the special effects on the hand, like it had just never been done before, and that was so fascinating because I think it's the first time they really tried to replicate flesh with CGI.
Yeah.
Like they digitally added the back of the hand onto or something like that. Remember, they showed it, and he had to put like a fake hand on top of his hand, a wrist or whatever, and then he would just like be wrapped in blue and running around the stage. I thought it was so fascinating back then.
Well, regardless, it's pretty cool. A pretty cool effect for the 90s, in my opinion.
Yeah. Has Dan Hedaya ever played
some personality?
Yeah. Dan Hedaya, has he ever played anybody that wasn't a schmuck?
I don't think so. I think that's his shtick.
I love, and to this day, I still say it when they're doing the sword fighting. He goes, "Good show, old man."
I know. There's so many quotes that are like quality, do you think he's a schmuck in Clueless? Like, I think that might be his least role.
Okay.
As her dad in Clueless.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll give you that
That's
one.
the best I got.
I love how they keep the light on Angelica Houston's eyes. Like, just no matter what they do, they have some sort of like soft glow over them.
I know. It's like, yeah. I don't know. It definitely was my, I think, first introduction to her. And I just think she's so fantastic. But you realize how macabre so much of the dialogue is.
Yeah.
And how many really fucked up things really happen in there, or they reference. And they're they reference a lot of stuff that's that really should be disturbing, but they just say it and then move on.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I think why the movie works so well, why people adore it, is because this family truly loves each other. They really support each other.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, they may seem dark and demented, and I've seen some families look like they're happy and normal every day, and they're just miserable. And you just get the exact opposite.
And also, this is interesting that Cher wanted to play Morticia.
That makes sense.
That could have really been interesting, but I'm so glad I think that it's really hard for me to appreciate any of the movies that follow these, because I just think that the casting was just so spot on.
Yeah,
how do you replicate that?
Right, there's the third movie, which was a TV movie, which is called Addams Family, where it's Tim Curry and Daryl Hannah, and that movie's just lifeless. It's not even their fault, but they just don't have that same chemistry. And then here's what throws me off: is they do these animated movies and they cast it perfectly if it was a live action movie, because Charlize Theron and what's the other guy's name? The one from
I know, Oscar Isaac. Man, he would have been so perfect. If he had just done live action.
Yeah, that's so confusing to me. Why would you go that route?
The way they went about it. I know.
How do you sit in the studio watching them do the voice and go, "Oh shit, hold on."
I know. Plus, Oscar Isaac is so pretty, and he's has a lot of charm. They really, really did not utilize these these amazing actors to their full potential.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I would love to see
anyway.
like the fun, charming side of Oscar Isaac, because I feel like all they do is cast him in these dead serious movies.
Well, he does a lot of serious things, but
He's a very serious man.
Still a very attractive man. Sorry. Okay,
No,
so you wanted to move on to... Isn't it weird that Mercedes McNabb, as a child, was actually in both movies?
Yeah, I didn't remember her being in the first one until I rewatched it, and I was like, oh, but she's barely in it, but she becomes such a big part of the
It's a very memorable scene, though.
Can't even remember.
Don't you think?
Well, I didn't watch. I didn't have the time to rewatch these. I watched them earlier. No, I watched them last Christmas.
So that's what the other thing I was gonna mention that is like just so memorable to me is when they're kicked out of the house and they're at that motel, and Wednesday and Pugsley have the like lemonade stand, and then she comes and she's the Girl Scout. She's
Yes.
Yeah, and she's like, is your lemonade organic? And she's like, are your Girl Scout cookies made from real Girl Scouts? Like, it's just such a funny, memorable scene. And it's like, she's the Girl Scout, and then she shows up again in the next movie with a much bigger part. Is she supposed to be the same girl? I don't know.
I'm almost certain she's supposed to be, yeah.
It's just interesting. I don't know. God, she's such a little fucker. In the second one.
I think the reason why it worked out for Christina Ricci and it didn't work out for what are the guys? I'm sorry, I can't remember. Something Workman.
Johnny Workman or something.
Is because Christina Ricci has such a wonderful way of playing deadpan, where Pugsley's just kind of like that. Okay, just kind of going along. But I will say
he's the lovable dimwit.
Yeah, but I love it when eat me.
Oh, I know. That's so fantastic.
And it wouldn't have worked if it had been the other way around. You almost need the innocent one to pull that off.
Well, I think that he is her straight man. Instead of her being the slapstick comedy, she's the dry as fuck, twisted one who's brilliant.
Yeah. And I love the second one, and it's a lot darker. Good Lord, it's so much darker because
yes, it is.
They spend half the movie trying to kill their little baby brother.
I mean, basically all they do is try to kill people because she tried to kill him a lot in the first one too.
That's true. I forgot about that. And then Fester is going to get into a relationship. It fucking kills me that they're on the dance floor killing it. And Fester doesn't know what the fuck to do except stick breadsticks up his nose over and over.
I know.
Oh, so pathetic. Oh my god. Or when she tries to make him more normal and she has him wear that white suit and that shitty blonde wig. It's so fucking disturbing.
So bad. It's so disturbing. And I think that it makes me Debbie. It's so creepy. It's just so creepy. And what's weird is it works, but it's just not how it's the roles that she usually plays. That Joan Cusack is playing like a sexy temptress, and usually she's the quirky like sidekick or friend or sister.
Yeah, but she fucking kills in this. Oh my god, she almost steals the whole movie.
Oh, absolutely. What about Debbie?
And then when she goes psychotic, with such a glimmer in her eye and a smile on her face. That's so demented.
So crazy.
But this is where we got introduced to David Krumholtz as well, because the second half of the movie they throw them into camp, and I think that's when the movie really goes wild, because not only do you have the camp story, but then you have the complete Debbie has taken over, destroyed the family, trying to murder him. It's so dark and weird.
Not to mention baby Hubert.
Oh, yeah, he's so adorable, but then his hair turns blonde and everybody gets upset.
I know. I just think it's so funny that she's like, I'm having a baby now. And then they're like, is it a boy or a girl? And he is an Addams.
But he said, he's an Addams!
And then he looks exactly like him. It's just so remarkable. I love it so much. They also subtly changed the grandma. Carol Kane plays her in the second one, and they never even they don't even make a joke or anything about her being an entirely different person.
Yeah, I wonder what that was about. Was she just not available?
Younger. She is playing Angelica Houston's mother, and she's younger than her.
Wow.
Doesn't matter. Good costume, good makeup, but I just think it's funny.
Huh? Yeah, I don't see anywhere in here why she was replaced.
No.
Maybe they originally wanted her and they couldn't get her, or something. But I thought the other lady was fine.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, the only thing in these two movies that I can recall that really dates it is in that scene at the camp where he has his card collection of like famous serial killers and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, I have the whole set except for the Jack the Ripper and Zodiac Killer. And then Pugsley offers to trade him, and he has it's like Amy, what's her name from?
Amy Fisher.
Amy Fisher, and I was like, that's the only thing in the two movies that like dates it. It's okay, but it's just like, oh, that's weird.
I'm trying to say, so I guess the guy who wrote this, who made it a lot darker, because Caroline Thompson stepped away, Paul Rudnick, and he had only done some cleanup work on the Addams Family. This is his first. No, Sister Act was his first script. That's funny.
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
Did Addams Family Values, In and Out, Jeffrey, The First Wives Club, Isn't She Great, The Stepford Wives. Huh.
There's a lot of cameos in this movie, or at least for me, it was like the first time I saw a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like Christine Baranski and Nathan Lane has a little cameo, and Tony Shalhoub has a little cameo. And
I love his, because he's macho man.
I know, it's so weird. And then, for the most part, the camp is the best and worst part for me, because it's so blatantly abusive, and they're such terrible people, and they're so cruel and unkind. All the adults and the kids are fucking awful people, and they're so mean. And but also it's the funniest stuff too, because she's like
insanely chipper, demented level of chipper.
And she's like, and then when they decide to punish them by putting them in a cabin by themselves and make them watch all these Disney movies, and then David Krumholtz's character comes in and he starts screaming when he sees the Michael Jackson posters on the wall. Like, what's that supposed to mean?
I don't know, but Michael Jackson was supposed to do the theme song to this one, so
I know.
That's weird.
I know. I just saw that too. I don't know. And then,
so you and I both went to camp, right?
I went to camp, yeah.
Yeah. Was yours like this? Because mine was pretty brutal and abusive.
It had some flaws, but it was also like a Christian, church-related camp.
Yeah, so was mine, but mine was at D. Malay camp, and those guys, yikes.
Yeah, I think that your connection, what your experience, that was very, 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 very fucked up. No, I mean, it was fine, I guess, but, I have personal feelings about most things that are religion related, so I don't want to be negative looking back at it. I think at the time it was fine. Yeah. No, it was fine. You went swimming, you had campfires, you sang fucking little ditties and talked about God a lot. I don't know, I don't care.
Yeah. I couldn't remember if you went to a regular everyday camp or not. I couldn't remember.
No, I didn't.
But it's so funny.
Fine.
Yeah, it's so funny watching this one, because there's that kind of the thing that I never see. You always see in movies is these elite, expensive camps, like in this and the movie Poison Ivy and some other ones that we've seen, where it seems like everybody involved is rich, and they had. This is the one that doesn't have, though, teenage counselors. At least they don't show them, because that's almost a cliche of all of these. It's just run by adults. And so I thought that was interesting. But what I really like is just the no matter what they do, those kids, they cannot break them. And that spirit, I just love.
I just love so much when she's just like, I'm not pretty, but I want to be. But she still says it like deadpan, just as, and then the effort that she puts into smile, and then they're like, I'm scared, like when she finally smiles.
And then, of course,
it's all just a brilliant ruse.
Yeah, then they sabotage the Thanksgiving play, and I love at the end when she's like,
it's truly disturbing, though. Yeah. It's truly disturbing.
And they're like, oh, will you remember me? Of course. You're too weird. I love fucking David Krumholtz. I can't wait to finally discuss. I have on my list what Slums of Beverly Hills. I got it.
Oh yeah, I was wondering when we were going to do that. Are we going to do it with but I'm a cheerleader or something?
Yeah.
That'd be great. Okay. Cool. Okay. I'm trying to think like what other things do we want to talk about? I love the dancing. And there's a great dance sequence in both movies.
Oh yeah, absolutely fantastic. Look, I don't. Nobody does, but I'm not good with any sort of the idea of relationships is more interesting than the reality of relationships. But in my head, okay. I want the kind of love that the Morticia and Gomez have.
Well, you're right though when you say earlier that what really makes it all work is. Well, yes, one, the commitment that they all put into their characters, but the fact that even if they're, like, crazy as fuck, like, they deeply love each other, or very committed to each other, and how much, like, being apart rips up Gomez, and how, how dramatic and over the top he is because, like, suffering and, like, because they're apart. Like, it's really... Yeah, could we have more families like that? Yeah. Like that truly care about each other.
Well, I mean, you think about the first one. The first one, he was just duped. He had amnesia. He did have guilt the whole time, though. He just didn't feel like it was right, and he was getting pushed and pushed and pushed. And that's the kind of repetitive thing that's in the second one. That's the only thing that I didn't care for is that Debbie does the same exact thing to him, and they put them out of the house again. And you're like, oh, you could have done something different with this.
Yeah, but I think that it just, it taps into the fact that he, he's still feeling, he's a pretty insecure guy. He's really, admires the relationship that, you admire it too. We all admire the relationship that Morticia and Gomez have. That makes him feel insecure. So, because he's searching for something that they have, and still, not feeling quite right with his family, maybe after all of those years of being away, that she's, it's easy to manipulate. So, yeah, it can seem the same as, or similar to what happened in the first one, but I think that it plays more into, like, his insecurities and vulnerability, and then laziness in the script.
Well, and I think it's admirable that they did make Fester one of the main characters. Like I said, I've barely seen the show, but I feel like he wasn't that big of a focus. No. And they could have just cast him aside, but I think Christopher Lloyd is so good and committed to this. Like I said, like you said, everybody in this is all in. They do not... Here's the thing about Raul Julia is... even in a shit movie, let's stop pretending that Street Fighter is a good movie. Okay, let's stop it.
Who's ever said it's a good movie?
Dudes now are starting to think that it's like the greatest movie ever. It's insane. These are the same. I have friends, and mind you, you're allowed to like whatever you like. But when you champion Bloodsport as a great movie, I'm very confused. As your favorite Van Damme movie, very confused. I mean,
you can enjoy whatever you enjoy. Like, hey, I like trash too. But yeah, it's not a good movie.
Yeah, but I will say, as crappy as Street Fighter is, Raul Julia just gives it his all, and it was his last performance, and he was dying. And I still think even if he knew he wasn't sick, he still would have given a hell of a performance because I've never seen him phone it in. And I've seen that really shitty movie that he did on Mystery Science Theater 3000, Overdrawn at the Memory Bank. Do you remember this one?
I don't think so.
It's even entertaining on its own without the Mystery Science Theater stuff. It's a 1981 or 82 PBS / New York production where it's in the future and everybody works on the computers and their whole life is just in their job. Their whole life is their job. And the only way you get any sort of vacation is you earn points through work, and you can use those points to have your brain downloaded into like a virtual scenario kind of thing where you can be other people or other creatures, whatever. And he only has enough points, and he's forced to go on vacation because instead of doing his job, he was watching old movies which are banned. He was watching Casablanca, and his brain somehow gets downloaded into a baboon. And when they try to bring him back, he gets lost in the internet. Back when 1982, the internet really wasn't a thing.
Oh, wow.
And then he finds a way to actually get into the computer systems and hack and shut down the whole system so that people can be free. It's done so low budget. It's admirable. But
I kind of need to see this movie.
The idea is great. The idea and his performance is fantastic. It's complete on YouTube without the Mystery Science Theater commentary, but there's also the Mystery Science Theater version. It depends on which one you want to watch.
Mystery Science Theater. Okay.
Yeah.
Man, it's so sad. He was so freaking young.
Yeah. It's it just happens. I still can't remember. I've heard different rumors about how he passed away, and I don't know.
It said he had a stroke.
Was it throat cancer?
That's what this says. And it says he had a stroke and fell into a coma, but there definitely could have been more to it than that. It doesn't say more on his IMDb page, but
see, for a while there, people were passing the rumor that he had HIV, but it says here he has stomach cancer. So. Oh,
I see.
Yeah, that sucks. Well, but he's memorable.
Don't spread rumors about the dead, Jesus.
Yeah, his performance is absolutely phenomenal, and he will be remembered forever just for this one series. It's great. At least he has that legacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but isn't he really praised for like Kiss of a Spider Woman or whatever?
I have never seen that. Yeah, I think he was a stage actor, and then he eventually, like in '86, is when he finally got discovered. That's really not long to be a movie star if you think about it. 8 years?
No, it's not.
Oh.
He did a lot in a short period of time.
Yeah. Okay, so that is it for this episode. Anything you want to say before we go? I mean, things that won't make your brain collapse like the last episode?
Don't send your kids to summer camp.
Because either it's a hockey mask or it's a brainwash.
I don't know, like, yes, this is extreme, but I think summer camps are gross and people are horrible.
Yeah, it's never like meatballs. It just isn't.
But man, it's really, I'm still trying to wrap my head around how disturbing some of the stuff in this movie was. But it's more than like Wednesday and Pugsley's, actions and naughtiness was just how awful the adults were, especially made me so mad.
Have you seen the animated ones yet? I have not.
I saw the first one. I didn't really care for it.
Yeah, it looks so ugly. I know that's for the original artwork, but I just don't. Sorry, kids. Addams Family Monsters.
I never saw that other one that you're talking about. I just don't think I can.
Yeah.
Even though I love Tim Curry, I just don't think I can.
Yeah, I watched it. It was dolls, dishwater, so boring. It was an ABC family movie, if I remember correctly.
Oh, that's odd. Okay.
So give me your choice.
Tim Curry certainly has charm, but
give me your choice: Monsters or Addams Family? Not just based on the movie, the whole franchise.
I don't know. Probably still the Addams Family. I don't know. I'm not that into the Monsters either.
Okay. For me, the Monsters just slightly.
I watched the original show more than I ever watched the original Addams Family, but I don't know. I did like that remake, that TV show that they had in the 90s.
Yeah, the Muppets Now or the Muppets... Not the Muppets. What did I say?
I'm sorry. Why are you saying Muppets?
I think it's called The Monsters Today, I think. We used to watch that all the time.
The one with Fred, Gwen? No, that was the original one.
Yeah, it was John Schuck was the one that was in that show, and then they tried to relaunch it again, I think, for a Christmas special, and Edward Herrmann played him. That's weird. Edward Herrmann played Herman Munster. Interesting.
Oh, that is interesting.
Yeah, and do you remember we watched Monsters? The one where it was the wax creatures version. The Monsters Attack or something?
There really has been a lot of versions, huh?
Yeah. There's like 3 or 4 movies, and there's so many. Yeah, so but these 2 franchises, I guess, are inevitable. I mean, if the Addams, that's why they were redoing the Munsters. I forgot the Addams Family cartoons have done so well at the box office. Of course, they're going to bring back the Munsters.
Yeah, I just definitely remember the Munsters today because Jason Marsden was Eddie Munster.
Right.
I remember that a lot.
All right, I think we've wandered off the ranch a little bit, so let's wrap this up.
Well, there's so much it's been around for so long that there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
But...
Well, I remember the Addams Family was in that Scooby-Doo cartoon. Do you remember in the 70s after the original series ended, they had all the famous people come on for special episodes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember the Addams Family. There's Batman and Robin and Gilligan's Island and stuff like that. The Harlem Globetrotters.
I also thought it was actually not too bad when they had that attempted that reboot in like 2012 with Portia de Rossi, I think.
Was there one?
As they call it Mockingbird Lane.
Oh, right. Like Jerry O'Connell was supposed to be in it. Did you actually got to see it? Because I never got to see it.
They released it as a TV movie instead.
Oh.
The pilot, they released it as a TV movie.
Okay.
I did watch it at some point. Maybe it was on YouTube. I'm not sure. Look it up. It's Mockingbird Lane. And I thought it was pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah. But whatever.
All right. Now we're finally wrapping it up. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, all your podcast hosts as Hit Rewind. Comment, share, like. Just, let us know how we're doing. If there's some movies we haven't covered yet. I don't know what the next episode will be. Unless I told you already. Did I tell you?
No idea.
Huh? No idea? Okay.
We'll figure it out. All good.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.